So, Stu, have you heard about DoorDash? What DoorDash is doing now?
Heard about DoorDash. I'm best friends with about 14 delivery drivers. They're at my house all the time.
All the time.
The three of them came to Thanksgiving last year.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. But DoorDash is now allowing customers, try this out for size, to take out a loan for meals. Listen to this.
Buy now, pay later firm, Klarna. This one is landing and partnering up with DoorDash. In the coming months, customers will be able to use Klarna services to purchase groceries, retail, and a Dash Pass annual plan. And customers will have the option to pay for their purchases in full in 4 equal installments or defer payments to a more convenient time. Here, shares right now of DoorDash up by 1.5%.
That sounds like a really bad idea. Now, I mean, which is this? Is this show how bad and how much trouble everybody is in, which doesn't really make sense to me? Then don't DoorDash, okay?
Yeah, it's not the cheapest way to eat.
cheapest way to eat. Mm-hmm. But does it show how bad the economy is or how lazy, I think it's a combination of how lazy we've become, how we just don't want to nor know really how to cook anymore. And then this company going, I know how we can get richer. Your meal over 4 easy payments? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
The answer to your question, of course, is yes.
Yes.
All of the things you just described is a big part of it.
It is.
Now, I mean, because I've seen that option when you pay for stuff online, Klarna, which I guess I've never used it, but you can, I guess, just divide whatever payment you're making into 4 easy installments, which is not, I mean, I guess that much different than putting it on a credit card or, something like that if you're not paying it off every month. And I think, I don't know what the fees are and everything else. It's just a weird, that's supposed to be that's a purchase you have the money for. When you're buying DoorDash, like there's a little bit of a luxury there, right? Like someone's dropping it off at your house, you're buying it. There's all sorts of upcharges in it.
That's not an economical way to eat, but
it's a great luxury.
It's a luxury, but it is becoming such a standard now that people are not looking at it as a luxury. They're like, this is just the way it is. No, not really anywhere but America. It is a luxury, and it does have a cost to it if you are looking to save money. If you're in a place to where you're like, I got to take a loan out for dinner, DoorDash is the last place you should be calling.
Yeah, no, it's true. Even if you got to drive out and get the stuff. Like, you're going to save yourself, like, what? $12, right? Like every single time you order something by just going out and picking it up yourself. And even that quite clearly is not the cheap way to eat. Going to restaurants used to be the luxury.
Yes.
Right now it's the restaurant COVID. Plus delivery.
I know.
Plus 4 easy installments.
That is crazy. That's one of the and because the way people will justify it in their head is it's no different than credit. I'm using my credit card already. Okay. All right, but it's not saving you money. It's
if you pay it at a more convenient time, Glenn.
Yes,
I love that term.
With, I'm sure, interest.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, right. How else are they making money?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Why would they do it? It's not Mother Teresa,
right?
Ringing up the bill. You know what? I think they're really suffering. Let's just pay for it.
There's one of these services, I'm not sure if it's this one, that gives you the option of essentially breaking it up into multiple payments. And then if you don't pay it by the end, you start getting the interest. So, like, in theory, okay, you want to break it up for 4, you're not necessarily paying the interest there. At that point, it's not that much of a downer. But, of course, the company is obviously believing you're not going to make those payments.
I know.
Or they don't have a business.
It's not good when you put things off that you could pay when you're in trouble already. That's don't be the United States of America. Don't be the United States of America.
Can we start paying for our giant programs that waste money like crazy in 4 easy installments?
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to be able to go to the Federal Reserve and say, hey, can you print some money? Give that money to me for zero interest. I'll pay you back, wink, wink. But I'm going to have somebody else take a loan on me paying it back, and I'm just going to keep rolling it over and over and over and over again. That'll work for a while because that's what they do. You can't do that. You can't do that. With people who are already looking at their credit cards, I just don't know what this says about us yet, other than maybe we've lost our minds, because it is not good for people who can't afford it. If I know it, I grew up in an era where my parents were the first to have credit cards. Okay, there were no such thing as credit cards. My parents, who were in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they were the first ones to have credit cards. And they thought, this is great. We can buy what we want. And I remember, I remember we lived in Mount Lake Terrace, Washington. So that must have been 1970. So I'm 6. And I remember my parents giving us the lecture and cutting their credit cards up in front of us and putting them in the fireplace.
That was the attitude I remember about credit cards.
Yes.
And it's interesting how that changes over generations, because I remember, I don't know if you know this, Glenn, but the radio industry, earlier in your career specifically, does not pay very well. And in fact, actually,
it still doesn't.
Yeah,
I mean, for some it does.
But
others don't.
Not the greatest industry for that. And when I started, I remember paying essentially for the beginning of my career with credit card convenience checks. Now, this is a theory that is it's still better than the way the U.S. government runs itself, but it's not a good financial theory, because they will send you these checks. And you ever see these where they send you these like convenience checks, and they're like, hey, you can use this for paying off a balance of a different credit card, or you could pay for something that you need. Essentially, it works like
Ponzi. Is this your scheme?
It's a good scheme. I used it like that because I would use one credit card convenience check to pay off another credit card. I was doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, I really should have gone immediately into government work with this philosophy. It was great.
You could have been the Secretary of the Treasury.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it was not a great idea. But it was interesting that while my parents were like, credit cards are evil, I pretty much embraced them. And I think now my philosophy is outdated, and people are going beyond that. And they're saying, not only are credit cards totally fine, we could break up our DoorDash payments into 4 easy installments. There's another article in the Prep today about how we're seeing car payments not being made at levels that are showing shadows of 2008, 2009. That's terrifying.
It's coming.
All of that adds up. And then add on to that we now have a generation of people who just believe all of this is owed to them.
I know.
Right? They went through the COVID thing where they were getting checks in the mail all the time from the government. They believed all of this should be taken care of when things go wrong. Everyone has this idea that the government is supposed to step in and be mommy and daddy all the time.
It's not going to happen. I am so lucky. I actually learned that lesson because I remember standing there. I had 6. I didn't know what credit cards were, debt was, nothing. I remember I had to be maybe 5, but no older than 6. And I remember them giving this lecture to us kids and cutting the cards up. And when I turned, 18 and going out on my own, I did not have a credit card. I paid for everything in cash, and I struggled for decades, again, radio, decades to make the payments on, whatever the rent was or anything else. But I did not have credit cards. The only one that my folks said, if you're going to get a credit card, American Express, and pay it off every month.
I remember hearing the same spiel.
And it's true. If that's the okay kind of thing, that was before debit cards.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you didn't have all the, it was as a hassle. So I'll pay it off at the end of the month. But you weren't looking at that going, am I going to be able to make this payment? That's what everybody is doing now. and it's because the economy is so bad. Don't add breaking your dinner up in 4 easy payments. I mean, I could even see this at a grocery store. That a grocery store says, look, we're going to break up your groceries in 4 easy payments for you. Unfortunately, you're going to be back at the grocery store every single week. So you're just going to get behind, even if there was no interest. And, and when it comes to food, what are you going to do? You got to do what you got to do. But food at the grocery store, not at a restaurant. That's horrible. You have to say that, isn't it? Isn't it? It says something about us that you would have, that we don't have the common sense to know, well, stop getting DoorDash every day. I mean, that's what an accountant would say. Well, you're eating out every night? Getting DoorDash? Yeah, stop that.
It's just it's a totally new attitude, this pushback on just like you're supposed to work for the things that you have. And I've seen all the time on, you read some of these like Reddit is a really good example of this. They're constantly complaining that they have to have jobs. I see it's all the time. It's amazing how much complaint there is that you're supposed to work. Like you're supposed to have a job, and you're supposed to I don't know, generate something of value for society.
So there's going to be two societies that are going to come right now. There's going to be those who understand it's work, understand that you have to work. Because not everybody, it's not going to last long. I mean, soon you won't have to. You'll just get, you plug into the machine and you can do whatever you want and you'll get a stipend. That's what is coming.
Like a universal basic
income. A universal basic income. Yes, it is. But the ones that will succeed and weather the storm, they're starting right now. They're going, wait a minute. That sounds like I don't want that. I know a lot of people do. They just want to, I just want to live my own life and I don't really care. And, and that's we're all different. That's not me. But there's going to be a group of people that are deciding right now. And I think it's the Generation Z that is really going to lead this, that are going to be, I don't want any of that stuff. I don't necessarily want the big house. I don't want, this or that. But I also don't want to be sitting around and waiting for a government check. I want to do something myself. I want my life to have meaning. I want to improve myself. Have you ever, my mother used to always say, clean your room, you'll feel better. What? No, I won't, because I concentrated on cleaning my room. But she was right every time. I never told her this. Mom, sorry. I never told her this. But every time you would have a clean room, you'd be like, I do feel better.
Oh yeah, there's a level of accomplishment.
Absolutely, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's the first time you actually feel a level of accomplishment on something, and we don't have that, and that's real, and it changes your life. And I think that's going to be rediscovered, I hope, by more than half of the coming Generation Z, but at least a good portion of us are going to return to those, and those will be the ones that will lead and not follow.